Before we go deeper, if you believe in kindness, empathy, and second chances, please like, share, and subscribe to Kindness Stories Hub. Your support keeps more life-changing stories alive. Alana didn't answer immediately. Memories came like waves, unstoppable, salt-sharp, stinging. Her daughter, Maya, 5 years old, laughed like sunlight reflecting off water, talked like she owned every star in the sky, until the crash, until the sirens, the metal, the screaming, the stillness. Maya survived, but her voice did not. Mutism, they called it. Trauma locked silence. Doctors gave prescriptions. Therapists gave timelines. Friends gave sympathy that evaporated after 3 months. But Alana stayed, every night, every hour, reading stories, singing lullabies, filling the void with hope that felt like sand slipping through fingers. She worked in the cafe from dawn to midnight, smiling for customers while grief gnawed at her bones. But she never stopped talking to her daughter, even when Maya never spoke back. Love teaches patience. Pain teaches depth. And Alana had both stitched into her soul. So when she saw the boy, pale, trembling, hollowed out by silence, she didn't see a billionaire's challenge. She saw Maya. She saw herself. And she whispered, barely audible, "I'll try." So Richard sat at table 3, the corner seat where sunlight fell like blessing through rain-washed windows. Staff whispered nervously as he placed a gold-edged business card onto the table like a knife. "This is a serious offer," he said, voice cold. "Eyes harder than the storm outside. If you succeed, the entire cafe is yours. If not," he paused. "Let silence do the threatening for him." Alana inhaled, slow and steady. The boy sat stiffly beside him, clutching a worn toy, a small blue airplane with chipped paint and bent wings. He didn't look up, didn't make a sound. Alana knelt to eye level, warmth replacing fear inside her chest. "Hi, sweetheart," she whispered softly. "What's your name?" No response, only trembling fingers and wide, ocean storm eyes. Richard exhaled sharply. "He doesn't respond to anyone. You can speak for hours. He won't look at you." It wasn't frustration he spoke with. It was defeat, raw and unfiltered. The room felt tighter. Customers leaned forward, barely breathing. Alana didn't push. She reached for a napkin, folded it slowly, deliberately, like origami poetry. Then she drew a small plane, then another, then a third. Same shape, same wings, same color as the toy in his trembling hand. The boy blinked once, twice, and for the first time, he looked at her. Not a word, not yet, but his gaze held curiosity like a match waiting to spark. Richard noticed. His jaw unclenched, just slightly. But then, impatience returned like thunder. "I don't have time for games," he snapped, ice sharpening every syllable. "I need results." Customers flinched. A waitress by the counter whispered, "He's pushing too hard." Maybe he was, but grief twists people, makes them brittle. And Alana felt her own walls rise, protective, fierce. With quiet strength, she answered, "Children don't bloom under pressure. They bloom under love." The billionaire's face tensed. Pride pricked like a thorn. He wasn't used to being challenged. And the cafe braced, sensing a storm inside the storm. Hours passed like years. Rain softened to drizzle. Customers changed. Coffee cooled in forgotten mugs. The boy still silent. But he was watching her now. Every move, every smile, every soft whisper she offered like a prayer. Alana told him stories. About stars, about birds, about her daughter who once spoke like summer wind. She spoke not to force speech, but to fill the silence with safety. And eventually, his tiny fingers reached out, touched the drawn airplane, traced it gently. Alana's heart stopped. Richard inhaled sharply, disbelief flickering like lightning behind his eyes. And then, a sound. Fragile, barely the ghost of a word. Plah, the room froze. Chairs stopped mid-creak, cups hovered mid-air. Even the rain paused as if listening. Richard stood so fast his chair crashed backwards. "Say it again," voice shaking. "A billionaire undone." The boy flinched, fear flooding his features. Alana stepped between them protectively, gentle but firm. "No, not like that." Richard looked at her, eyes full of desperation, grief, rage at the universe itself. I've tried everything, he broke, voice cracking open. I've given him doctors, schools, therapies, vacations, toys, everything money can buy. His mask shattered, tears, real, raw, finally falling, but I can't give him back his mother. Silence. Heavy, merciless, human. Alana felt her chest cave inward, felt her own scars answer his. Losing words, losing connection, losing someone you love more than life itself. She placed her hand gently over the boy's. Your son doesn't need a millionaire, she whispered. He needs a heart that listens. The boy looked at her again, and this time, he spoke. Plain like Mama Drew, Richard staggered, hand over mouth, shoulders shaking. The cafe was silent except for one grown man's quiet breaking, and one little boy reclaiming his voice. The progress was slow, fragile, holy. The boy returned each day. Sometimes he spoke a word. Sometimes he only smiled. But each moment was a brick, a bridge being rebuilt across a river of grief. Richard softened, started helping wipe tables, read stories aloud, shaky at first, then steady, learned how to listen instead of command. Customers noticed. So did Maya. Yes, Maya. One afternoon, while Alana and the boy drew airplanes side by side, her daughter approached quietly, brown curls bouncing, eyes wide but brave. She placed her small hand over the boy's. Two children, two hearts mended by the same scar. Mama, she whispered, and Alana dropped to her knees, shattered by joy, her daughter's voice. After 3 years of silence, fragile, beautiful, alive. The cafe cried with her. Richard cried too. The boy, smiling, said softly, "We can talk together." The next morning, Richard returned, not as a billionaire, but as a father reborn. He placed a contract on the table. Not one for sale, one for partnership. "I don't want to buy the cafe from you," he said, voice warm for the first time. "I want to build it with you." The cafe gasped again, but this time with hope. He invested enough to renovate, expand, turn the small corner shop into a haven for families, children, broken souls needing warmth. And Alana, she became co-owner, a businesswoman, a mother, a miracle in motion. People came from across the city, not for coffee, but for healing. A place where silence wasn't emptiness, but space for hearts to breathe, where children found safety, where parents found strength, where brokenness wasn't shame, but testimony. They named it the Second Chance Cafe. Sometimes miracles don't sound like thunder. Sometimes they sound like a child whispering one small word through trembling lips. Sometimes wealth can't fix what love can. Sometimes the strongest healers are the ones who had to heal themselves first. And sometimes, just sometimes, a billionaire walks into a cafe searching for hope and leaves having found family. If this story touched your heart, even for a moment, please like, comment, and subscribe to Kindness Stories Hub. Share this with someone who believes in second chances. Share it for every child learning to speak again. Share it for every parent who refuses to give up. And tell us below, what does kindness mean to you? Your story might be the next one we tell.